today I'm going to be watching this video. It's called What Shocked Us About Living in the Netherlands, Dutch Culture Shocks for American Expats. So yeah, I do like watching these types of videos to see what shocks people when they go to a different country. Being Dutch, you can tell me what you think about these, and yeah, let's watch.
Before we moved to the Netherlands, we knew we were going to be in for a little bit of a culture shock. So we knew things like most homes here didn't have air conditioning and we'd find milk on the shelves. However, there have been a few things that have surprised us as Americans living in the Netherlands. We're at the Hef Bridge, and let's count down the top 10 biggest culture shock moments we've experienced so far.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Michelle, and we're Buncharted. Let's get into it. New, but was still really surprising. Taxes included in all the prices. Like, the price of the item is actually the price you pay. And that's not at all how it works in the United States. So taxes apply to the purchase price, and it's a percentage of the total depending on the state that you live in. So it's anywhere between like 7 and 10%. And don't even get me started on tipping. Here in the Netherlands, when you're buying something online, for example, it's gonna break out the taxes separately. So originally, when I saw that line with what they call it, this VAT here, I thought that that line was actually gonna be reapplied to the total, and I kind of freaked out at how expensive I thought everything was gonna be, but it's not at all. They just spell it out for you. It's dead simple, and I don't know why they don't do this in the US.
Yeah, that one I've never understood why they don't do that in the US. Similar here in Malaysia, some places like supermarkets and so on, it has the final price, but sometimes you go restaurants, bars and that sort of thing, then they always add on, they call it plus plus, which is two types. I think it's a service charge and a government tax. They always add that on, so it always bumps up the price. The UK is exactly the same as the Netherlands, very easy, always see the final price, just makes sense.
Number 9. Here's another one that we kind of knew before, but it was still really difficult to adjust to. Eggs aren't refrigerated here. It's really weird to see them in the grocery store on the shelf next to the cake mix. And it's really hard not to put them in the fridge after you're done using them.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like you're doing something wrong. The shelf life's only about 2 weeks here, and whereas in the US, it's typically a month or more. But when you shop for eggs in the grocery store, it's way more common to see them in 6-packs rather than by the dozen. Number 8.
Yeah, tell me more about that as well. I live in Malaysia, so the eggs are always refrigerated, or you buy them, they're not refrigerated, but then we keep them in the fridge. I guess maybe because of the weather here, it's so hot all the time, I don't know if they would spoil quicker. But I can't remember what it was like in the UK. I don't remember if they keep them in the fridge or out, but why are they able to keep them out? And even when you go home, you don't put them in the fridge, is that correct? Is there any reason? Is it just very good quality eggs that you use that means they don't need to be refrigerated? What if the temperature is very warm in your house? Does it make a difference?
8. This is something that took us a while to notice. Curse words on TV. We don't normally have cable TV, and the temporary apartment that we were staying at when we got here, we did. So we fell into the habit of watching a lot of TV shows that we used to watch back when we had cable TV in the US, namely Catfish.
But does she have her location on Snapchat? Ohio!
But nothing was bleeped. And it took us a while to notice because when nothing's bleeped, it actually sounds super normal. I'd actually argue that adding the beep draws more attention to the fact that the person is cursing. And honestly, the lack of bleeping made a lot of these conversations sound more authentic since it's how the person's normally speaking.
They said
That's actually not something I noticed. I know that in the UK, we have something called watershed. I think it's 8 p.m. So before 8 p.m, I don't think swearing is allowed on TV, but afterwards they can. Like in Netherlands, do you see swearing at all times? I guess this one is kind of normal to see. Again, I don't think I've seen too many shows in the UK where things are bleeped. Again, comparing to here in Malaysia, things are the opposite. They'll blur out people kissing because this is a Muslim country, an Islamic country. They like blur people kissing. They don't allow swearing, and that's all times of the day. They really censor everything. It's quite crazy. Even I seen a cartoon, and the cartoon characters were about to kiss. They blurred the cartoon. I've never seen that before.
Number 7. I don't think I've had to pay with my physical debit or credit card anywhere since moving here. every place uses Apple Pay and it actually works, like every single time, unlike in the United States. I've actually stopped carrying my wallet completely. And one of the things we heard a lot about before coming here was that a lot of places don't accept credit cards at all, they just take cash. We haven't really run into that yet. We have run into situations where places only take debit cards and they don't accept credit cards. Credit cards here do seem to be fairly rare, not just for small purchases, but even for larger purchases. But at least we found most places accept them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that one as well. Like, I think that's a thing that people talk about, and it really varies between different countries, whether they use things like Apple Pay, debit cards, cash. What do you most commonly use? Is it always Apple Pay and these phone things, or have you noticed like less places taking cash or anything like that?
Number 6. My next one is generally just like the grocery store shopping experience here. I was so surprised to see the sheer amount of shapes and sizes of pre-cut refrigerated potatoes.
What was that? So is that true? Sinas apple is a Chinese apple. That's what we call an orange. That's actually very true. Like I am married to someone who's Chinese Malaysian, and orange is quite important to their culture. Like Chinese New Year, they always give oranges and things like that. So it's quite interesting that you would call an orange a Chinese apple. That's quite interesting. An ard apple, an earth apple is a potato. It makes sense again. It's kind of similar shape and it comes from the earth. Very cool, man. Yeah, tell me about that. Tell me any other interesting things about the Dutch language. Every single store has at least 20 different options, and the same goes for pre-cut and pre-mixed vegetables. So like if you're making a stir fry and you need to add vegetables to the mix, you just grab a bag from the refrigerated section and you're good to go.
The stir fry bag.
Yes, the stir fry bag. Another thing that was a really good surprise here was the sheer amount of vegetarian and vegan like meat replacement options. So much good stuff. And the fact that most of them are store brand. This is almost unheard of in your average grocery store in the United States. And the prices for all of these here in the Netherlands are fairly reasonable, considering we would pay upwards of like $8 USD for just a couple of frozen black bean patties in the United States.
Well, man, those supermarkets actually look so good. Again, I've been to Amsterdam. Been to the small supermarkets there, and I know they're completely stocked with excellent quality food. Again, comparing to here in Malaysia, which is not the best quality, like Dutch supermarkets really like look so good to me. Like when I go to different countries, one of my favorite things to do is actually to go to like a local supermarket and just see what products they have. Maybe I'll do some videos about Dutch supermarkets. What are the popular supermarkets in Netherlands?
All right, I'm back for number 5. Dutch culture is very appointment driven, meaning almost everything requires an appointment, which was honestly great in the beginning of our process of getting our residence permits. When we needed to register in a municipality, it was nice to know that we could schedule an appointment, show up, and not have to wait hours on end to be seen, which is generally how everything government related works in the United States. However, this became less of a pro and more of a con when we needed to simply pick up our residence cards, which we literally have to make an appointment to do. And it's just to pick up what is essentially a couple pieces of paper. It's kind of crazy to us because appointments are hard to get and we're waiting weeks just to pick up a document. But overall, appointment culture does make things more organized, but it can also hinder progress, especially for little things.
I actually don't mind that. I think it's very good as long as like when the appointment comes, you don't have to wait so long. Again, I live in Malaysia. I have a visa here. The process to try and renew that is painful. Like you need to go there, apply, take all your documents. It takes hours to do. Then you need to come back. When you actually need to pick it up, you have to wait hours to pick it up as well. It's like it makes me kind of come out in cold sweats just thinking about it. So even that one sounds very painless compared to it. And I'm sure compared to most other countries who are very bureaucratic and have long processes for these things, it seems like Dutch are quite ahead of that.
Number 4. Okay, this one's specifically about the working habits here in the Netherlands. When we started our move, we were working with several people here, and after 5 p.m. local time, nothing. The Dutch just don't really work after 5.
That's good to me. The way it should be, really. Yeah. That's the life.
And this is obviously in stark contrast to the United States, where if someone needs something from you, even if it's only mildly urgent, you're kind of expected to respond to them after 5 o'clock. Also, in the US, when you receive an email and you don't have the answer, it's customary to respond back and just say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you in a day or two. Here, you basically just get radio silence until they have an answer. And as you can imagine, that's pretty stressful when you're in the midst of a big move and you're trying to figure out stuff about the immigration process or you're trying to figure out where you're gonna live. But the flip side of this is that everyone here seems to be extremely reliable, and we've yet to have someone forget to follow up when we ask them a question. And honestly, this is one of those Dutch habits that I'll probably adopt first.
Yeah. Number 3.
This is honestly one of the most shocking things since moving here for us. It's a bit of a negative. It's actually pretty negative.
Yeah.
Soda here that's not labeled as diet or zero or sugar-free usually still has artificial sweetener in it. It seems to actually be very common. And this is a pretty rude awakening for us when we went to the store to get a Fanta or something and we were drinking it and we're like, something's just a little off about this Fanta.
Has it turned?
And we took a look at the back and at the ingredient list and bam, sweeter, sugar, and sucralose, both.
I thought
We
that
did
was
some extensive
common,
Googling
actually.
to try and figure out why this is. We assumed there was some sort of like sugar tax or some sort of mandate for health reasons in the European Union, but we were left with more questions than answers. So if you know why this trend is so prominent in the Netherlands, please let us know in the comments.
Please.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Actually, I would have thought that would have been more common in America as well, or just as common. But yeah, I do understand it. Like a lot of these drinks that are not the full fat one tend to have artificial sweeteners in them. But yeah, again, if something says no sugar, you would imagine it just doesn't have anything like similar to that as well. But tell me what you think about that.
Number 2, one thing that I was totally thrown off by when we first moved here was the lack of tampons with applicators. They're not at all common here, and this is something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. So in the US, when you're shopping for tampons, they generally have both applicators and non-applicators, but the ones with applicators are definitely the dominant type that you see most in stores. And this really took a while to get used to, but overall it is a great thing because it's less waste and the non-applicator tampons are way cheaper here than the ones in the United States.
Okay, that one I
And
don't know
now,
too much
for
about,
the
honestly.
biggest culture shock we've experienced so far in the Netherlands. Number 1. So I didn't hear about this one until we actually moved to the Netherlands, but a lot of women get catcalled on the streets. This seems to be a pretty common problem in the Netherlands, so much so that the 2 largest cities in the country, Amsterdam and Rotterdam, have banned catcalling, and it can now result in a fine of up to 4,100 euros or 3 months jail time. Other cities are also taking measures to spread awareness about catcalling. So Utrecht actually began a campaign where an electronic billboard will actually catcall men that walk by it, and then those men will be approached by a city employee to educate them against catcalling.
Jij daar met die kaart? Ja, jij. Ik ben blij dat je me hoort. Heb je zin in seks?
And none of these solutions are perfect,
Really,
and the
that's
country still
a
has a really
dodgy
long way to
question to
go
ask,
to
man. I think
eliminate
most men will be
catcalling
like,
and to ensure
yeah.
that women feel safe when they're walking on the streets.
Okay, I think that covers everything, at least so far. It's gonna be interesting to see how this list evolves over time.
Yeah, tell me what you think about that. That's not actually something I knew of. Is that still common? I'm not sure when this video was produced. Have those measures been able to reduce that? Do you know of that living in the Netherlands? Yeah, tell me what you think about that list. A very interesting list. Some things I've not really seen mentioned with regards to the Netherlands before. So pretty cool to learn more about the Netherlands through these American expats' experiences living there. Very interesting. And they were talking about maybe evolving the list. So maybe I'll try and see if they've got any other lists like this as well. Seem like very interesting people. So tell me what you think about this and the culture shocks that they raised in the video. Thanks.